walking at your house. It would have been the first time on the grass. And we're walking along, and I was telling Bill an idea I had about how to help all of you, how to help business buyers and builders buy more businesses. And I had like what I thought was a really good idea, right? I was like, this is a really big idea. It's gonna be big. And I'm telling Bill, and have you guys ever like told an idea to your spouse that you were like, I'm so excited, this idea is gonna be so big, and your spouse just goes, bat, 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 and just like starts kicking. Anybody, is that just me? No. So Bill did the most amazing thing to me that I'll always appreciate him for, which is I told him my idea, and he looked at me and he goes, do you think that you've been investing in small business for so long that small has infected your thinking? Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember that.
And now somebody might say, well, why would you be really glad somebody said that to you? Because without Bill saying a hard thing that I needed to hear in a moment in which I was probably playing pretty small, I wasn't taking much risk at all, actually. Right. It was something I could have 1,000% accomplished. There was almost no world in which I wouldn't have done the first thing I was talking to Bill about. I had somebody who had seen in the future already. He had a bigger bank account than I did. He had built bigger things than I had. And he said to me, is that all you got? Is that all you got? And I will tell you that if you're not in rooms like this often or walking with Bill along his house, you're not gonna get somebody like that. And so what I hope you take away from today, we're gonna talk about a lot, but I wanna talk about risk with Bill. I wanna talk about how you make decisions. I wanna talk about how you choose what you wanna do next, because very few people will tell you the things that you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Am I right? Can I get a little yep on that? All right. So Bill, now that I've painted you in such a lovely light.
Yeah, thanks. Dream crusher. No.
Dream question. I want to start with, we've talked about speed before.
Right.
And how important speed is to making money. And the faster you move in many ways, the more money you make. But I've never gone further with you into that question. How do you think about speed and moving fast, and how do you know if you're moving fast enough on the decisions you want to make in life?
Well, first I want to say, not a dream crusher. I just want to hold you accountable to your best self, right? Like you definitely had all the ingredients as somebody I would want to bet on, and your dreams, your ideas were much bigger than that. You weren't thinking bigger, and I told you at the time. I said, the money is easy. It's having an idea that you can execute on. There's tons of money. There's tons of rich guys that don't want to work. They just want to invest in somebody and make a good return. The question is, how do we find these executors? And when we find them, they dump cash into them and they go golfing or flying or doing whatever they want to do. And so I wanted you to think big, because it wouldn't be hard for you to raise money, right? Like after you went around, you were like trying to cram me down because these other guys want to come in and this guy wants to come in. I'm like, no, that guy can't get in, right?
That didn't happen.
What happened if you thought about that idea 3 years ago? What if you executed on that, a little bit faster? What if you, thought a little bit bigger and moved a little bit faster? Where would you be now? How big would this conference be? How many people would be knocking down your door to figure out how you did it? And so, we're human beings. We're not institutions. We don't live that long. And there's periods in our life. And I just think that life in itself is urgent and important. And your dreams are important. And that advantage of action, speed implies action. You're not just speed running around in a circle. You're moving towards your dreams. And so it's almost taking yourself serious and your dreams seriously by executing. What else should you be doing, right, according to your values? And so I think it's very important. And it's, my willingness to take risk and my ability or my willingness to move quickly towards my goals are the only advantages I have.
What if 2025 wasn't just a year of grind, but a year of ownership and flow? That's the idea behind my first ever 3-day virtual event this February. It's not just a conference, it's a movement, and it starts with you. Over 3 information-packed days, we're going to tackle everything you need to take control, from finding the perfect business to negotiating killer deals to building the mindset of a true owner. This isn't just a theory. We're bringing in laser coaching on real deals and sharing the exact strategies to spot opportunities everywhere. Here's the thing. This isn't about me. It's about Owner Nation, a collective of driven, unstoppable individuals ready to rewrite their futures. This is your movement and your moment to connect with others who are fighting for the same goal, freedom through ownership. No one else is doing this. We've never done it before, and I think it's the first of its kind. So it's your shot to be part of something bigger when it comes to ownership. Visit the link in the description to save your seat, and let's make 2025 the year we own it together. Yeah, well, I think you got a few other too. You got a pretty big brain. But, you know, I was like doing some research on you, which is funny to do with friends, because I hadn't like dug in that much in the past. And there was a line that I loved. The Wall Street Journal actually called you, well, first it said you're one of the world's most successful hedge fund managers, and then it called you the last cowboy, which I had never heard before. Yeah. Do you know why they called you that? Yeah,
it was somebody in the industry who just kind of said, yeah, he's kind of like the last cowboy, the person willing to take risks to trade in kind of this commodity, really put it on the line and have no fear to the result, but be in love with the process, right? Like if this is the correct action to take, this is the action I take. A lot of people are afraid of risk, not because they can't stomach the financial risk, but their egos can't stand looking like an idiot or being wrong, you know?
Yeah, well, talk about that a little bit more, because in this community, like you just kind of mind fucked me slightly back in the other room, which is this idea of like, do we have risk?
Yeah, most of the people when I step into a room like this, I think everybody in this room has subject-verb agreement, some level of education, is pretty ambitious and intelligent, which means they can get a job anywhere. So when they go out to start their business, from a financial perspective, they have zero risk, zero. You're not going to be homeless, you will not be starving, you will be clothed, sheltered, and feed yourself. What risk you have is your ego. You don't want to be a garbage man, or you don't want to be a waiter, or you don't want to be a restaurant worker. And so therefore, you can't take that ego hit and then you will not go live your dreams. You'll play it safe to stay in your ego space, in your relative position amongst your friends. You don't want to look like an idiot to yourself, because sometimes we're our own worst critic. And so when people talk about risk, you know, I was at Rice yesterday at the business school, and he says, well, I talked to these MBA graduates about losing it all in risk. And I literally said, what the fuck are you talking about, losing it all? These guys can get a job tomorrow. Six-figure job tomorrow, you know, there's no risk, right? And so earlier on in my life, when I was a screen clerk, I was making like $16,000 a year. My friend left the floor to go become a waiter, and he was making $75,000 a year cash in New York. This was like 20 years ago, right? So what risk did he have? He just quit and didn't want to go do it. And I went chasing the big dream, you know, to be the big trader and make a bunch of money. And so I say to most people at this level of education and intelligence, like, there's no financial risk, there's only ego risk.
Can you guys internalize that? Like, do you feel that as deeply as I do? Like, at the end of the day, we talk about risk, and I think, oh my God, what if somebody bought a business and it failed and they went bankrupt? And when I think that, I think you died. I'm like, oh my God, that's our fault. Did anything happen? Are we gonna make it? Did we lose a limb? Does anybody feel like that too with businesses? It's like almost like our biggest fear is public humiliation.
It is.
They say.
It is the. And so when you know, the people. I also say that people like success, but they love a failure. And the reason why people love a failure is not that they're evil, but it validates their own cowardice. Right? They had dreams too that they didn't go pursue. There's risks that they didn't take. And so when you fail, they're like, see, I'm glad I didn't do it. Look what happened to so-and-so. He's a waiter now. Or now he's working for so-and-so. You tried that big idea and it failed and he looks like an idiot. I'm lucky that I'm okay looking like an idiot, and I often do. And so that allows me the freedom to go try some things that have failed. You know, I went down to El Salvador and spent a bunch of years trying to build this giant LNG project, 500 million megawatt project. It failed miserably.
How much money do you think that cost?
I lost $10 million doing that. You know, when $10 million was like a significant portion of my net worth. I tried to do one in California, went through all the works. That failed, you know? But I like to swing big, and I like to take the risk. And like, what's worst come to worst? I'll get a job.
So how do you decide, like, what is your mental gymnastics that you do when you decide, I'm going to execute on this idea versus this idea? How do you decide what is going to be worth the risk or not?
I mean, You know, I say there's a zillion ways to make money or get rich. I mean, if you think of a field, there's a millionaire in that field. Whether it's shoe lastings, pizza, garbage, renewables, energy, buying business, finance, et cetera. So one of the things I look at is that, will I be consistent? And this is aligned with my values and mission statement. Do I want to do this, right? And then it's, can I execute? Can I execute? Can I get people aligned that are actually going to execute? Because most of the time, I'm firing myself. I'm not the guy, right? I want to be working on my business, not in my business, mainly because I'm not the smartest guy in the room at that thing. Like, I'm not the best sales guy. I'm not the best spreadsheet guy. I'm not the best at any of this thing, but I am the vision guy and the guy that will move fast, take risks, and willingness to learn, and I have that curiosity. And so if I stay curious and I stay consistent, and I have a vision, and I'm able to enroll people in that vision, then it doesn't matter what the business is, I can get rich in it.
I love that. By the way, you guys, he flew in here just to talk to you today. How about that?
And you. I mean, you have a big part of that.
The second thing that I've really learned a lot about you, watching you, is we all want to learn how to build teams, right? We know that we don't want to just have a job, we want to have a business. And I watch how you handle your team by interacting with them. You have one guy, Omar, who is totally different than you.
Yes.
Can you talk about how you found him, why, how you figured out that was the person you needed for this specific role?
Yes. So I think it's around 2008, 2009 when all the banks were laying off everybody, right? The world was ending. No more was in New York, and trying to convince somebody from New York at that time to move to Texas is kind of crazy. And, you know, I really had to enroll him on the vision of what he can get out of life and the things he can do here that is different from a bank. And so, and what I enrolled him on was on the risk and the ability to execute in his area of expertise, right? If you're in a bank, you're way up in a bank, you're like high up in IBM or a bank, et cetera, you can't do a $50,000 experiment. Your budget is so tight, you can't go, I think this might work. It's going to take $50,000 to find out the answer. May work, may not. I'm like, okay, let's fuck around and find out. You know, that does not exist in these organizations, right? And so the freedom to be himself, to execute on his area of expertise, for me to step back and let him be us to debate and figure things out, that was very appealing. You know, it's a little scary, like that doesn't exist. Right? Like even in our companies, we're like, if we're not failing, we're not trying.
Yeah.
Right? We're not trying hard enough. We're playing it safe.
You know, the other thing that is really interesting is like, so when I came to Bill and I was trying to figure out how do I build this next thing, and I was getting his advice, one of the other things you did that I think really highly of is you go, ask Omar about that. Like, that's not a me question. That's a him question. And so I kind of picture you as like, visionary, which do a lot of people think of themselves as visionary in the room? Like, you're the person who has the idea. How many people think of themselves as like implementer or operator in here? That's interesting, 50-50 split. To me, you're the vision, and Omar is like guardrails, bumper rails. Yeah,
I think, you know, a lot of times I'm like, this is thematically where I want to go. I understand, like, hey, if we calculate the math on this and it's this and this is going to work. But am I going to go in, run the whole spreadsheet, get all? No, that's not me. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Could I do it if I had to? Yes. But this is where he's an expert, and he's going to be very detailed in thinking about it. And so, you know, like I said, I love to fire myself, right? Like, I am not the best at that, so I let the people who are best at that do that, and I get the hell out of their way. Yeah, right? You know, I want to be working on my business, not in my business. If you want to have a pizza parlor, you can work on your business. You can make the pizza, you can do the oven, you can do the hiring and firing, et cetera. You want to be Pizza Hut? You cannot be that person. You have to be working on your business. You have to let people handle that store, do all those things, and you're looking like, okay, next location over there. And even then, after you think, I think this is a good idea, then you get your land guy and do all the analytics about the demographics and how many people go out there and what the income is, et cetera. And then that's how you build an empire. Either one is okay. Right? And so when I talked to you, I was like, what's this mom and pop shit you're talking about? Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's go.
You're right. The other thing that's interesting is he kind of CYAs, like he protects you. And I think a lot of times, like when I have a lot of young leaders, I try to I push them a lot so that they will push their team, because their team doesn't protect them, and if their team doesn't protect them, then they don't protect me, right? It's almost like shit rolls uphill sometimes when you're a leader. And if you don't make your juniors handle their stuff, you're gonna be in charge of it. Omar really protects you. Is there a way you think about screening somebody like that, or you incentivize them so that your people are like your bulldogs?
I think, you know, they understand that they have like a mini business within there, right? Like they want to get paid first, that's fine. I want to take all the risk. And, you know, my CFO calls me meal ticket. So, you know, like they get it. Like I am the meal ticket, right? Like I created this organization that's where their great insurance comes from. That's where their salaries come from, et cetera. And so as this machine keeps running, which I'm an integral part of, you know, they're fine. And so he has a very, very, very nice job, right? A lot of freedom, both where he's located, et cetera, what he does, experiments, things he wants to investigate. I would protect that. I was like, what things do I need to make sure that this keeps going, right? Like, so protect your meal ticket.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and also be okay talking about yourself like that. Because I think sometimes owners were like, there's this whole like servant leadership idea, which is true. But I think you also have to say, I said to my content team, I'm like, what is your #1 creative asset right now at Contrarian Thinking? What do you think they said? You. Great answer. They were like, is it YouTube? I was like, God damn it, it's me. And that feels weird to say, right? Because it feels egotistical. You know, you're like, I don't mean that I'm the most important part. The second we get other talent in here, like serve them, serve them, serve them. But until then, you have to be okay as the owner kind of saying, hey, I need you to take care of me, because if I die, this dies. And right now you're killing me. And so I like the way you run your teams that way. Yeah. And it's almost like it's so aligned.
Yeah. I mean, they have their important function and they know what's going on, but the organization, like we are a living, breathing organism, and they have their part, and it's like, we can't have the head get cut off. Right. And we got to protect them. Like, if there's an area where there's like a question or they're negotiating a deal, like, I'm out here strategic thinking, right? Like, I may miss all these things. They have to do all that for me, and I trust them to do that for me so that my neurons can work on the other things and keep this thing growing. Yeah.
Do you think you're hard to work for?
I don't know. I think there's this, at first people think there's this idea that I'm not approachable, but I'm like very approachable. Like I come in looking like the pizza delivery boy. I come in jeans and ball cap, you know, I'll talk about anything. And once they realize like, wow, I have all this freedom, I have all this structure, I can push back. Like they think I want to debate because, you know, I'm right. I'm like, no, I'm debating to come to a consensus to get to the answer. I'm just as curious as you are, probably more curious. And so I think it's easy. I'm pretty like, you know, a lot of times they're like, oh, I want to raise or I want to do this. And I'm like, I really don't know. Let's see what market is. Like, I'm not like, you should get paid this. I'm like, what is the market? And then I pay at the top of the market, you know? Golden handcuff them.
I love that. One thing that you know, you have two ideas that I've really learned a lot from. One is peak utility of money, and I would almost say also peak utility of time.
Right.
Can you talk about assistance, peak utility of time first?
Yeah, so like I saw you talking about the assistant comment. So, you know, when I invest in you, right, it's not like you're gonna go out and like box somebody or dig ditches. You're gonna use your brain and your neurons. And so I'm investing in your time to execute, and it's extremely valuable. I trust it and valuable. But if you're out there getting groceries and filling up your gas tank and worrying about this, I'm like, wait a minute, you're not a $10, $15 hour person. Like, why are you doing that when your neurons could be the next greatest idea for your business, make it run efficiently, make it 10x, whatever? You should be offloading everything that is below your hourly rate to somebody else so I can get more Codie, right? Just you having an assistant, I might get 30% more Codie. Yep. I might get 2 Codies, you get 3 assistants, right? And so that's a great deal for me, and that's a great deal for you. Like, shed all the stuff that you should not be doing so that you can focus on your goals and your dreams and your values. It's just inefficient allocation of resources. Like, if you're sweeping floors, I'm like, what are you doing? If you're going to the grocery store, unless you like checking out what new nuts they have, sometimes I do, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're denying somebody a job, and you're doing ineffective allocation of a very valuable resource. You know, you didn't go to college and do all this learning and go through the school of hard knocks to be pumping gas. And so, I don't want to invest in that. I want to invest in Codie. I want to invest in Codie, the dreamer, the person thinking about business and this turnover and the baby boomers and scaling it up and then integrating their systems and all the other things you can do buying these small businesses and this idea that you're having. Not Codie like, do I have enough peanut butter and milk? You know, that's just crazy.
Yeah, I love it. The other thing that you talked about too, which I think resonates, there's a lot of couples in here today too, is getting your partner on board too. So I remember Chris came the second time, and we were walking around and we talked about like, what tasks are you both doing, in your marriage too, which is not theoretically normal for you to talk about with a potential investor or even just a friend, a fellow business owner. And I thought that was really useful. How do you think about like getting your family, your partner on board? Because I know family is really important to you too.
Yeah, we have to meet and figure like what's my role here, what's your role, and then how does our time get divided, right? Because if you go on this like adventure and your life partner, your highest value, right? Like, where all your most, or if not all, of your fulfillment is going to come from this relationship, your interpersonal relationships, and you're not on board, and like you're having all this friction. That's a problem. That's a real problem. And it's wealth destroying and dream destroying and fulfillment destroying just from like letting these little cracks keep like on a windshield. You know what I mean? It's like this teeny little crack, and the next thing you know, you can't see, right? And so I think like frequently getting aligned and discussing and having those difficult conversations about, hey, you're spending too much time on this, or how are we going to allocate these resources? Are you on board? Getting buy-in. And once you're buy-in, it's like, hey, let's go. It's going to be tough, but let's go.
Yeah, that's really good. So I've kind of seen your brain in action when you're looking at like business plans or opportunities, maybe to talk about peak utility of money or just deciding which venue to use. When you have, all of this optionality in front of you, how do you determine which way to go? So if you're like, I want to do, remember we were talking about on the lake, we were talking about, well, could we do a business model where we own all the small businesses?
Yes.
As opposed to, should we have a percentage of all the listings of small businesses? And so as you guys play this game out, you're going to have so many different ways your business can go, and determining the best way to make money is actually quite hard often. Yeah. How do you make that decision?
Well, for me, it's like the most fun and fulfilling outcome, right? So, but, there's a lot of people think at one level, like there's these de-risk businesses that people are going to be selling that are profitable, that you can pick up, finance below market, et cetera. Great. Maybe I can pick up a couple. Great, now I'm at scale. What about all the derivative value in that business? The data I can optimize. Now let's just go really big. I got 1 million employees across all these businesses. How much cheaper is my insurance, my paper? How much data do I have? I don't need a Fed survey. I am the Fed survey. Maybe I want to market something. Maybe I can partner with other businesses that sell services and take a piece of that going through all those employees. I'm too big to fail now. So there's all these other things that you start thinking, I'm not bright enough to think about all these things, right? What value that provides and how much capital it is. But that's going to be an individual decision, right? There may be a concept enough. It's like, I'm good with 20 car washes. I don't need 100,000 car washes, or I don't want to be that big. Maybe I'll pitch it out to somebody else later and let them take it from that point on. And so, since I'm not doing the work you are, I'm like, let's go big. I'll give you the money. It's a lot of fun. I think for me, that's great, but when you're there running it, maybe you're like, Bill, I'm going to take it to this point, and then we can pitch it out to somebody else. And that's for you to decide about your life journey and what you want out of life, right? Because at the end of the day, the money, the business, et cetera, it's fun, but for me, it's just to drive my fulfillment. Like, I don't buy hammers and saws because I like hammers and saws. I'm buying hammers and saws to build a house. The same way, I don't acquire money because I like money. The money is there for me to live the life that I want, the other things. Now, work is fun, and winning is fun, and doing these businesses are fun, but ultimately, it's for me to build the complete entire life that I want and be fulfilled.
I want you guys to start thinking about your questions because I'm going to come to you next. But for my final question here, I mean, you made a lot of money. You have all the toys. You know, you, maybe not all in your mind. I can see you go up and to the left and think, no, there's a couple I want still. But you have like a ton of material wealth, obviously, but you keep playing the game at like a high level with a lot of risk. Why?
Well, I'm not necessarily attached to the toys, et cetera, and there's certain things that I want. Like, I will not risk things that I have for something that I don't have unless I really want that thing, right? And there's certain things that, like, you know, I still want. But as long as it doesn't interfere with the rest of my life, I will keep doing it, right? And so the blessing and curse of technology is that I can work from my phone, right? Everything's on my phone. Spreadsheets, DocuSign, you know, video calls. It's like Dick Tracy, you know, I'm old enough to remember like the Dick Tracy cartoons, right? Two-way radio watch. It's even better than what they said in that regards. And so remote work, I'm able to, you know, be working on a boat on vacation and then jump off into the water. And I enjoy, like you said, I'm really working for my employees, right? I'm building this, right? Like I have, if you include, I have one startup, I think they have like 100 employees, another one that's not like 40, my family office, et cetera. It's just like a mini army, a couple platoons, as Chris would say, of people that, you know, I'm working for, that I'm building for and keeping this ecosystem growing. And then with that other capital, I help you realize your dreams, right? Like I'm a part of the building block to do that. And that's fulfilling for me. But if it becomes an interference with my life, like you said, like I'm getting older, right? Like I don't want to, I'm not here to die like Scrooge McDuck on a pile of money. I'm going to use it all up before I die. Because, and not only before I die, but before I'm unable to convert it into the experiences I want to have, right? If I want to go heli skiing, it's not at 86. You know, it's now. I don't want to go heli skiing. But you get the idea. Your ability to convert your capital into meaningful experiences or useful experiences declines as you age. Your lung capacity goes down, your muscle mass goes down, your fragility goes up, even your attitude. You're like, I don't like that anymore. I used to love glow sticks partying in the club. Now I'm like, come on. You know what I mean? I'm gonna lounge and listen to this jazz, right? And so there's a time for everything. And so I'm acutely aware of that. And I want to make sure that I deploy these resources at the right time throughout my life.
Yeah. I think also we talk about a lot, you can't be what you can't see. And so one of the things that I really respect about you overall is you also have a shit ton of fun. Like how many times do I get a text message from you and Luke at Sky-Fi, and it's like a Thursday night, and I have to work all day Friday, and you guys are playing fucking laser tag.
Yeah, laser tag.
At his house.
Werewolves,
like
laser
a whole
tags.
game of laser tag orchestrated on this like giant. So I think like it's just a beautiful thing to see because you bring everybody along. I have been to a multi-hundred people parties at your house. You're out of town, which is weird. Have you guys ever let somebody else just throw like giant parties at your house when you're not there?
Our friend had a saying, and I agree with it. You buy stuff to give it away. And you know, there are people who go to the movies alone, and they're either movie critics or psychos. No, I'm just kidding. Some people do go to the movie theater alone. But like, we want to enjoy the ride with our friends. I think like, you know, it's always like, did you see that? You know, where just social media, everybody talking about what we saw, what we did, et cetera. And so, you know, I have a wake surfing boat, and the reason why I love wake surfing so much is 70% of it is there's a bunch of people on the boat. Everybody's rooting for you to get up. They're all rooting for you to do the new trick. You're having a great time. You're sharing these memories, and you're creating memory dividends that you'll be able to enjoy for the rest of your life. And so, you know, the things I have are, you know, for me and my friends and new people to enjoy, you know, in this ride. And so the ride for me to the grave, because we're all, you know, the destination for everybody is the same, it's the grave. So I'm trying to enjoy the ride, and I want to enjoy the ride with the yous of the world, right? That's what makes life worth living for me. So that's what the toys are for. It's not for me to just sit there with 50 laser tag guns shooting in the air, you know?
That would not be as fun.
No, not at all. But even going to the movies alone, I mean, sometimes you want to be alone, but like sitting there, you're just like, you want to turn to somebody, right? Like even watching at home, you're like, oh man, they got to see this movie, right? So
it's true. And the other thing I hope you guys notice too, that I love to bring like my friends here and show you guys firsthand, because I wish I was in rooms like this when I was younger.
Right.
Like I didn't have access to fancy rooms at all. You know, it was, you know, my dad was an entrepreneur and we had other entrepreneur friends, but we were kind of like barely making it, you know? Like this didn't really exist, this sort of abundance. But isn't it weird how the news tells you that people with wealth are bad? People who are rich don't give. And then you meet some of these fuckers, you're like, this guy, he invited me over to laser tag 6 times. I just met him.
Werewolves, laser tags, whatever,
Yeah.
man. Let's have some fun. Let's enjoy the ride.
So I want to open it up now for questions. And as we're thinking about it, you know, money, investing, risk, raising capital, anywhere you want to go, I want to open it up. And let's try to get a few questions from people we haven't before. Okay.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Here we go.
Let's go Hawks.
Yeah.
It's been 4 years since Die with Zero. You've had countless conversations with smart people like Cody about your book. How has your philosophy changed and evolved since the initial publication?
I think I've solidified it and, you know, gotten more into, so the book is more at the 10,000 foot level, the theory and the mental models, and now I've got more into like the application layer on like how I can implement that, how can optimize, how can I think about fulfillment, you know, and then my wife and I, you know, we use a lot of the exercises to like resolve what we should be doing and how what is the best course of action for to take, but nothing's really changed in terms of it, the philosophy or what is correct. I think it's more correct than ever.
Wow, love that. Next
Another question right over here.
Hi, my name's Donald. I'm from Austin. My question was like, I hear a lot about people saying how like they do this, they want to add more to their life, but what could you talk to about like what you don't do, either in like how you think, mindset-wise or habits-wise? Like, what do you subtract or not do in how you live your life?
Okay, I think one of my biggest flaws coming out of Jersey City was impulse control, and so one of the things, and not necessarily with trading because I'm very stoic about like losing money, whatever, but just in terms of interpersonal relationships, kind of having a equanimity and a stoic belief, like, hey, you know, this person is annoying or they're frustrating me. I need to dial it. I can't control or change them. I can change how I can react, right? So when somebody does anything to you or around you, there are about 1,000 ways you can react, right? And I had to look at myself and like, why am I reacting this way, right? And so that is one of the things I've been learning not to do, is have this kind of like histrionic responses to things that annoy me, right, in interpersonal relationships. So that's one of the things I'm trying not to do.
That's really good. Donald's a stud too, works at Google, and Billy is about to do his first transaction, a multi-million-dollar deal.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so two smart gents.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Andrea, based in Austin as well. So I have kind of a two-part question for you here. How do you find a good operator to invest in for a specific venture? And the second part to that, how do you manage or insist on the highest standards when there's even potentially a disconnect in expectations that were set once you're executing? Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, I always say it's always an HR problem. It just always is. Like, we'll have a great idea or something we want to do, and it's like, okay, but who's going to do it? Who's really going to be the operator, et cetera? So it's a hunt. Sometimes you're stealing them and convincing them that they can take the risk, right? They just need a little nudge. Sometimes they're walking in your yard, you know, and you're talking to you and asking you for advice. And you're like, hey, I know some people that would like to start this business. How about doing it yourself? And so it's when you recognize it, you go for it and you present them with the opportunity. And so it's really just trying to get aligned with their visions and their dreams. Is this something that they really wanted that they just didn't have the opportunity? They didn't know how to search for it. They're not really looking for it. And sometimes it's just outright theft. You know, like convincing somebody to leave New York, don't work for another bank and come work for you. Like, I got you. And it's going to be more fun, and you're going to have more freedom, and you're going to get to be more of you.
Yeah, you definitely.
It's an enrollment. Life is an enrollment game, right? And so they're either enrolling you in their vision or you're enrolling them in yours. And so how do we get, you see these people, you'll find them, they're out there, you search, you can find many different ways to find them and search them, but after that, you have to enroll them in your vision. And so you have to be good at enrolling.
How often do people say no to you?
They said a lot.
Let's ask Laura. She's like, never.
They
No,
said a
do they?
lot, as
Yeah.
long as it's followed by a yes eventually. You know, a lot. You know, if you're aligned, if you're being, you know, a good guy, you're basically enrolling them in their own vision. You're showing them that how your vision is their vision, how it's similar. So how are they going to say no to themselves?
That's
Next
good.
question, straight in the back.
Good morning. Thanks for your time today. Ben Larrabee from Colorado. And my question to you is around, I find myself wanting to be in the trenches with people and not wanting to, I want to kill my ego, right? So how do you balance offloading these tasks that are below your pay rate and killing your ego at the same time, if that makes sense?
I mean, the offloading the tasks is just, part of it's just simple math. And reminding yourself that you have other things to do and you're denying yourself your dreams, and just constantly reminding yourself. Like, it's interesting, it's great, you know, to let them go and fail, and letting, it's great to pop in and tinker, et cetera, and you feel useful and you're learning, but realize that there's the other you, let's call it you prime, that's not doing the big thing that it's meant to do, and you're actually destroying value every time you do that. And then also accepting that people are going to fail, you got to let them fail. They got to learn. How are they going to learn if you're always tying their shoes for them? If you're telling somebody what to do instead of what you want, then you don't have an employee, like you have a child. Right? Like, it's like,
The
you
clap,
don't have
that
an
was
employee.
worth the clap.
Like, you got to step back and then let them fail. It's going to be okay, and they'll learn and they'll grow. Like, you can't keep tying people's shoes for them. And so I remind myself of that. It's going to be okay. They're going to grow, and that I am destined for other things. Right? My time needs to be spent on X, Y, and Z, or this thing, or my dream is going to die. Because nobody's coming to save you. Right? Nobody's going to come and be like, this is your dream. A genie's going to come. You have to execute on that dream. And if you're, you know, down there and like, hey, you should fold the napkins this way, I'm just using a restaurant example, that dream's going to die.
It's really good.
We have a question over here on your left.
Hi, Sage from Hawaii. So recently we've been a little bit more open about where Travis and I have been trying to go after a $200 million manufacturing business. And a lot of people have come to us and said, well, why are you going that big? Why are you doing that? And at first I was kind of like, well, why not? But I got to the point where I started asking myself that question more seriously. And I think my answer is, I won't know what I'm capable of unless I strive for the impossible. And I want to know, since you encourage Codie especially to go for bigger things, what was that moment in your life where you decided to go much bigger versus staying within the box that you either started your own mindset in or that other people told you to stay in?
I you know, one of my advantages, I say willing to take risks, but I'm also like fantastically delusional that I can do it, you know. And, you know, they had on the screen, they said legendary trader, whatever, and they said, well, what does legend mean to you? And I said, listen, there's a little bit of survivorship bias in that quote. It's not that I'm the salmon that made it upstream, it's I'm the salmon that tried, right? That's the legend. And there's lots of legends out there that have tried things and failed, et cetera. I just happened to be one that got there. I remember when I told my mom I was developing this solar project out in Nevada to provide power to California. It was like I think it was like $300 million, $400 million project that I was developing. I wasn't going to be the one to put the $400 million, but I was going to develop it to the point and then pitch it out. I sold it to Capital Dynamics for like $180 million, right? And spent like 20, 30, 40 million, $30 million of mine and my friend's money developing it. But when I told my mom, she laughed. She laughed. She was like, not laughing at me, she's like that was fantastical. Like, how could you possibly be doing something like this? And it's because of where she came from. Like, my mom worked like for a school system, a government, and I was just like, she's trapped in this bubble. but I saw a path to execution. And so if there was a path to execution, well, I'm a risk taker, and I know a lot of crazy other nutty risk takers. You know, they won't even look at it unless they can lose all their money. they won't, because they're like, you know, my friends are like, if it can't hurt, it can't help. That's the way they're thinking about it, right? And so, like, you know, they believe in the returns are commensurate with the risk. And so, you know, we did all the work. We, you know, interest rates were going our way. Solar panel prices were going our way. We rode the curve and we sold it out and we made the money. I don't know what your execution plan is, et cetera, but if it can be done, you can do it.
And I think we have one last question right here.
I think we might have time for
Two more you want?
Yeah.
Okay, two more.
Hi, Bill. Wendy Papazan, Austin, Texas. Big fan of your book. My husband and I do a goal-setting retreat every year, so I love that you do that. And we actually just utilize some of your life experience buckets, like put all of our. We've always had a big list, but then we put it in our time buckets, so that was really cool. And I just have a fun question for you, which is tell me about the most memorable experience that you've ever invested in.
Oh, wow. Wow, because you know, Lara and I are like, I can't even remember these past 2 weeks. Like, we have so many different things. So I think, I think it was the one I wrote about with my mom and my family in St. Bart's for my birthday party. But recently it was our engagement trip during COVID. You know, when the initial math came out, I was like, oh man, it's a 1 in 20 chance I'm gonna die in the next 3 years, right? Just from the initial math. So I was like, I got too much money. I need to start spending it right away, right? I need to light some money on fire, right? And so we rented a yacht, and we were like, we got to get out of here. And so Croatia was taking people where everything else was shut down. So we went to Croatia, rent a yacht. I would have never went to Croatia. I discovered all that with my friends, had a great time, begged our way into Greece, got into Greece. And before going into Greece, I got engaged, right? We had an amazing party, the biggest fireworks show. They wrote about it in the news because I was like, I gotta light some money on fire. I'm dead in 3 years. You know, went to Italy, et cetera. So it was this magical trip where I got engaged, hung out with my friends. My family came on party yacht, on and off. It was just like, all right, it's the end of the world as we know it type of trip. And we really, really had, you know, we talk about that all the time. And so it was a lot of dividends. But some of it's just, you know, laser tag in a werewolves game. You know, I was playing werewolves on a birthday party, and I played the greatest game of werewolves that had ever been played, and I talk shit about that all the time. So it's hard to say, but I would say that trip with my wife and our engagement trip.
That's a great question, Wendy.
Thanks.
Alex, we had one more question somewhere?
Right here.
Okay.
Hey, Bill. Ellie from Brooklyn. You talked about ingredients. What are the ingredients that you saw in Codie and in other people who you want to help enroll into their own vision?
Oh, Lord.
Well, I mean, she's intelligent, smart, driven, and has integrity, right? And it's like, what else do you want, right? Like, she was just kind of like thinking she has this idea, and I was just like, can I have the supersized version of that? Can I put risk dollars in you? Like, at the end of the day, you're betting on, you know, she's like, I bet on her business, and I'm like, I'm betting on you. If you say, hey, I'm gonna go in the garbage business and compete with waste management, or I'm gonna do a better pizza version or whatever, I would have been like, okay, here we go. Here you go, right? Like, I'm betting on you. Like I said, like, for every field, there is a millionaire. Like, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know you can make money at that. I didn't even know that existed, right? Like, when I meet people. And so, when you're finding people like that, you either want to hire them or invest in them.
Yeah.
Right.
And you collect people, like I've noticed.
Yeah,
He's a people collector.
I want to learn. I'm curious. Like I went to a SpaceX launch and I was hanging out there and I was like, oh, you know. My wife was like, we gotta go. I was like, I don't ever want to leave. I'm learning so much from these guys. And I had a man crush on Lars. This is the guy who like designed the rockets to land backwards. He's the engineer that does it. It's like one guy. And I was talking to him about the belly flop maneuver. And I was like, I never want to leave. Never want to leave. And so, but there's other people that are like yourself in marketing and are charismatic and intelligent and understand business and cash flow and whatever. And I can talk to you all the time. And then there's molecular biologists when you invest in them. And so one of the fun thing about investing is how much you learn. How much you learn, you know? And there's just brilliant, wonderful people out there chasing their dreams, and it's just like the greatest. Like, I don't watch TV. I'm like, you know, I'd rather the human drama every day. Right? There's great stories, there's fights, blah, 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 there's divorces, there's everything, right? Like, you don't need to watch TV. You just interact with these people, you can learn. And it's just amazing how much you learn just interacting with these people, particularly in investing.
Can we give Bill Perkins a round of applause? Thank you so much for being here, Bill.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. I'll follow you this time.
all right, if you want to get good at sales, this is what you need to do, what would you say?
Well, I think you need to come in and you need to articulate what it is you're trying to sell in a very short sentence, right? Be very clear, be very concise with your pitch and eye contact. And then ask questions. If they're saying no to you, this is the greatest opportunity for information. To me, that is on in the mirror, meaning the conversation has just got it started. So you say, no, you don't want the collection. I go, okay, well, what didn't you see today that you would have liked to see? What can I show you next time? Because I've already now setting the appointment for the next time I'm coming back. When I come back in spring with my next season, I'd like to know what I could bring that you might be more excited about seeing. What other designers are you buying that you're really excited about? Can you tell me what it is about them that you like? So all of a sudden, my sales call became this information source that I'm now going to take back with me and learn from and then come back to. And I promise most of those no's turned into a yes because of that. I didn't go, okay, oh, you don't like me? Okay, bye, and I'm never going to see you again. It was, I'm going to learn and I'm going to win a yes from you. And I'm going to keep trying. And I would send cupcakes and cookies to buyers in the early days. If it was a spring theme, I'd send like bird-shaped cookies or flower-shaped cookies and handwritten notes. And I had one buyer from Neiman Marcus. She called me one time and it was like, years, I want to say, like 4 years or something. She finally was like, I've gained 11 pounds. Will you please quit sending me cookies and cupcakes? But I want to come in here and talk to me and come show me your collection. She's like, I love everything that you're doing. She's like, I was in church on Sunday and 6 girls in front of me were all wearing Kendra Scott. And she's like, at that point, she's like, the scale was talking to me and God was talking to me. She's like, come on in and show me what you got. But I mean, it's part of it is that persistence of like taking no and figuring out how to turn it into a yes and doing it through really getting that feedback from whoever it is you're selling to.
That's great. Do you teach, when people come into Kendra Scott, do they get like a Kendra Scott sales lesson? Like, is this something you teach the team about a certain way that you guys sell?
Yeah. So we say connection over transaction. I tell my team all the time, you look in retail stores and they're like, oh, the SPT and the UPT and all this stuff. And it's all data driven. And their teams are just so much on like, how many items per transaction am I selling? And they become almost robotic. I take all that and I throw it in the trash. To me, brick and mortar is a place for connection for brands, for people to get connected to your brand, to experience your brand, to become in the world of what it is that you're creating. So the goal for the people that you have in those stores is not to sell. I'm going to say it again. The goal for the people that you hire in your retail stores is not for them to sell. It is for them to connect. It is for them to make every single human that has taken the time out of their crazy busy schedule, who decided to walk through the doors of your store, which is a gift, by the way, to make them feel loved, welcome, appreciated, and have the time of their life. Whether or not they leave with a yellow bag that day or not, if you've created a real connection with that customer, you will get a customer for life. She will share that experience with all of her friends. She may go online later when she's in bed after she put her kids to bed and go back on and shop online. But we have made a real connection. And if your retail stores become that place of connection, brands can absolutely blow up. But when you're focused solely on transaction, those are where you're going to see the for lease signs coming up real soon.
Buying a business or launching your own venture can feel impossible if you're stuck figuring out the website, logo, email marketing all at once. But here's the good news. GoDaddy Aero is here to help. So just a few prompts, it builds a professional website, a logo, an email, even social content, all tailored to your business. It's like having a whole launch team in your laptop. Instead of months of grinding, you can go from idea to launch-ready business in minutes. No more waiting, no more guessing, just a real online presence that you can grow with day one. Suddenly, the thing that was just a tiny idea in a notebook is online, polished, and ready to scale. So if you're ready to take your idea to life, head to GoDaddy.com/Codie Sanchez and try GoDaddy Aero today.
You know, it's fascinating because I've experienced your brand so many times being here in Austin, and you just launched Yellow Rose,
yes,
which is a stunning store. You know, I'll let you explain it, but let's call it like modern Western in my terms. But it is beautiful jewelry, kind of feels timeless, feels like I could have gotten it from the best pieces from my grandma. And we actually had a YouTube video that we did outside of your store. And I'm just remembering this now. I have a big production team. And so they go around to stores and ask, could we shoot outside? And all of our videos, we donate the profits that we get to varying charities. This one was like Austin Entrepreneurs or something.
I love it.
And so it was a boys versus girls sales challenge. So who is better? Yeah. And so they went and sold like different things, coffees, whatever, on the street. And I had the funniest experience. I had an experience with your team that was amazing. You're like, whatever you want. Out front, great. Come in. Are you guys okay? Do you need something to drink?
Right.
Like, oh, we'll buy it. Let's let the girls win. I'm buying that from the girl. The boys can't win this. They're incredible.
Thank you.
Then we had another brand that I won't say, where we were in front of their store for like 30 seconds. They were like, mad, came out, who are you? Can I talk to the manager basically?
Wow.
And one, it's public domain. So actually in the place that we were at, we didn't even have to ask, but we did it out of courtesy.
Of course.
And I'm thinking in that moment, you're exactly right. How many times do we miss an opportunity because of the rules or how everybody else does it, as opposed to thinking human connection wins?
Human connection always wins. And when you train your staff and give them the power to please, where they don't have to ask a manager for approval. If I am putting the most important job in my company, it's not any of our C-level suite, it's not any of our SVPs, it is my front line. Those are the most important people at Kendra Scott. And I need to give them the tools that they need to be able to be successful. And I need to give them the power that they need to be able to make decisions in the moment, to be able to react and make that customer happy and never have to even worry about all this red tape. I worked in retail, like in high school and in college. And let me tell you, like the book you would get was like the size of the telephone book. For all you young folks, that was a thing. We used to have a telephone book. But it was the size of a telephone book. And it was all these policies and procedures and all these rules and regulations and this and this. That kind of stuff is not going to work. Every single person is a human being with a real thing that they're going through in that moment of their life. We don't know what that is. So we've got to come from a place of an open heart and an open mind. And every interaction we have needs to be that way. And so, it's just a way on how you train and how you said hire. It's not just about training. Like, who we hire is most important. I don't care if you've had any retail experience. Quite honestly, sometimes I prefer if you don't, because I have to unteach some of those policies and procedures and the phone book stuff,
you
right?
Gotta rub the corporate off of them.
I got to get no, I don't want you to have all that. I hire people who just are brimming with optimism, who are brimming with positivity, who are brimming with warmth. The people that you just want to hug, that you feel that in their presence. When you interview with somebody and you don't want that interview to stop, you want to just keep talking to them because they're so awesome and so engaging, and you just are like, oh my God, I love this. That's who we hire. And then I can teach them all about the stones, and I can teach them about our settings and how to do color bar and all these other elements, but I can't teach them that. I can't teach them how they make people feel. That's either in you or it's not. And that's the number one thing we hire on, heart.
That's so good. My dad always says you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Right.
And that you can't teach desire, which I love that.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about some of the unhinged things you've done to grow Kendra Scott. Because I've seen a few really cool things that most billion-dollar brands don't do so much. Like I saw a pop-up you guys did with Sun Life, and you're like handing out jewelry, but like kind of in a fun way at like 7:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I was like, this is wild. I was like, is that free? Like, is this for no reason?
Yeah.
So what are some of the craziest things you've ever done to grow your billion-dollar business?
So I really believe in touching the customer, like physically touching the customer. Now we have all this great power with social media, and which is incredible, which I didn't have when I started my company, quite honestly. But there's something again about human connection, going out and not just waiting for your customer to come walk through your doors. Activity breeds activity. So creating activity is exciting, whether that's us going on to campuses where we're having our Elisa tour, where people could come and pick their favorite Elisa and they're getting cups of coffee, and we'd have 300 students in line. They're engaging with an experience with our brand that is so special, and we're meeting them where they are at, and we're bringing them into our world. And then that's where the beauty of connection comes. And now all of a sudden we have a fan, and you have an advocate for your brand. That's not just a customer, an advocate for your brand, which is really exciting. Like, for our customers in so many ways are like brand ambassadors. The connection they feel to our brand is so different because of all of the community outreach that we do. We hosted over 25,000 events in our company last year.
Oh my God.
25,000. We have people in every single store that's all all they're doing, whether that's Kendra Gives Back events with local charities, whether that's doing activations like you just talked about with, Sun Life or other brands, no matter what it is, we're out there every day hustling and we're physically touching people everywhere we can. And that makes such a difference in our brand. And I think so many brands today just have forgotten the power of that.
Do you think a lot of this stems from the fact that you did bootstrap it? Like most businesses in jewelry, I definitely don't know who runs them. I've never been to an activation unless it was like a very fancy one, maybe like a luxury one at the store, red carpet, something.
Yeah.
But this isn't very normal for your industry.
No,
is it?
I mean, I dressed my best friend up in a heart costume on Valentine's Day, and we walked up and down. South. This is a few years ago. Okay, I'm already $1 billion brand, and I made my best friend dress up in a heart costume as a mascot, and we just walked up to people on the street and asked about their love story, and I gave them jewelry. I started this way because I didn't have any money for big ad campaigns. I couldn't take out advertisements in magazines or newspaper or whatever. So the only way I could get my product out there was I brought literal product, gave away my product. And one of my friends, Clayton Christopher, he did Sweet Leaf Tea at the same time that I was starting Kendra Scott here in Austin. And he was like, I let people taste it because once they taste it, they want it. So they got to try it. Well, I was selling jewelry, not tea, but I was like, I loved that concept. And so I would go to every hot restaurant and I'd make sure that all the servers and the hostess, I'd gift them Kendra Scott. And I'd give them cards, business cards, and be like, here, there's discount cards to give to customers. If they ask, I just opened a shop on South Congress. I'd go to like the hair salons, the hottest hair salons, make sure every stylist was wearing Kendra Scott. You're sitting in a chair, you're looking at a mirror, those hairstylists are wearing the jewelry. They're like, what is that? I got the product out there because that was the one thing I had, the only thing I had that I could use for advertising. Word of mouth was how I built Kendra Scott. 100%. And this was before we had social media and the ability to do that virally, right? We were doing it just like physically having people go and tell their friends.
How do you come up with crazy ways to get attention without spending tons of money?
Well, you don't need tons of money. You just need creativity. And you need to not be afraid to, I think so many people are like afraid, like, oh my God, I'm going to get laughed at. Or that could be, as my 12-year-old says, cringe.
Yeah.
That could be so cringe. But you've got to be able to just go out there and have fun and not care. Stop caring what everybody else thinks. Be disruptive. That's the only way you're going to make it in business today is you have to be disruptive. I say it all the time. This is one of my slogans. If you're doing what everybody else is doing, you've already failed. You have to do it with your own fingerprint, your own voice, and you have to do it in a disruptive way. I love to use the example of the Blue Man Group, okay? How many acts are out there in the world, right, that are competing, just like jewelry, right, or all these other industries? These guys said, I'm going to paint our bodies blue, okay? This was their thing. We're going to go on the streets and we're going to dance and we're going to do our thing. Blue Man Group became because they were disruptive. They did something that other people would go, what in the world is happening? But it caused attention. It created excitement. Activity bred activity, and it bred bookings. And it built a whole business for them. So don't be afraid to be a little crazy.
It's so good. I think oftentimes what we also don't realize is the more success you have, the less people think anything you do is cringy. So I often am like, hey, listen, if it's cringy now, once you make it, nobody cares.
Right.
It's not cringy anymore. So just make it. Do everything you can. Have zero ego in the beginning.
Yes, 100%.
You can't have shame when you don't have money in your bank account.
No.
What about... You talked about some fun things you did, but what do you think, for somebody who's listening that's like, I want to go out there and start a business right now. I don't know if it's in jewelry or I have something else, but I know I want to go start a business. And I don't have much money. Mm-hmm. What are some non-glamorous, maybe doesn't require massive amounts of creativity, but just if you do these 3 to 5 things, you'll have a harder time failing in business?
Yeah, first you've got to solve a problem. I like to look at my friends, Tiff and Leon with Tiff's Treats. They're good buddies of mine. I know, right? But cookies, okay? Cookies are a very common thing. Bakeries are a very common thing. But they took cookies and they said, what if we could deliver them hot? Warm, That's different than what's out there right now. So they took a business that was, million cookies in the world. They took something and they created something that was special and disruptive by delivering them warm, right? They started out of their dorm room here at University of Texas in Austin, which is crazy to me, right? Delivering warm cookies. But what I say is, and I love that as an example, is it doesn't have to be you're reinventing the wheel and creating some product that has never existed. You've got to create a product that is unique, but it's still solving a problem and doing something in an innovative and fresh way that's disruptive. And if you can do those things, it doesn't require money. It requires creativity. And if you've got creativity, you've got in spades over a big check, right? Being creative can be better than any investment that you could ever get in your business.
That's so good. I need to think about it more. I have a to-do list over here for David and I after this. Are we disrupting enough, David?
You're so disruptive, Cody. You are.
I don't know. But I mean, I think the other thing that's interesting about you is you kind of have an outsider perspective. It's not like there are tons of billion-dollar jewelry businesses being made in Texas in general, certainly not in Austin. Did you ever consider yourself an outsider? And is it an advantage to being an outsider?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I started, I remember going to New York and going to the Javits Center and setting up apparel and accessories shows and setting my booth up, and buyers and editors from the magazines would be like, oh, are you in LA or New York? And I'd be like, well, no, I'm in Austin, Texas. And they'd be like, oh, you really need to move to the coast if you're going to have a successful brand in fashion. And I was like, well, you don't know Austin, Texas. You don't know the creativity here. And what they didn't also, what I realized is I looked different because I was being influenced by this incredible place I was living. I wasn't trying to be like everybody else. In New York and LA, they were all just trying to look the same. You'd come across my booth and it was like, whoa, what's happening here? Like, this is totally different. But it's what really, helped us get on the map because we stood out and we looked different. So being from here really was part of the DNA of Kendra Scott. And I think a huge advantage. The other thing, and I said this to someone earlier today, was Texans support Texans. This state is a crazy thing. And it's like the entrepreneurs here, they hold hands, they lift each other up, they share information. We really have a mindset of like, we're competing against the world. So let's help and support one another. I can't tell you how many incredible business owners and friends I have in this state who literally were there for me and vice versa throughout all the different stages of my growth of my business. And I wouldn't be sitting here with you, Cody, if I had started my business on the coasts. I wouldn't, because I needed that support and that love. And this state really gave me my wings to fly.
Yeah. Well, it's also scary sometimes doing things a little bit different. But if you're in a place that's already different, that's a great unfair advantage that you can kind of mimic what's happening around you. And that in itself is not normal. Right. I never thought about that for you. What about slight change of topic? I'm seeing this gorgeous ring on your finger. Oh. So beautiful. Very tiny.
He did good. He did good. He did good.
Okay. So you're engaged to Zach Brown, who I'm a huge fan of. My parents are too, like giant fans. Yeah. But I was wondering, there are all these narratives about women and success and how successful women can't also be in good relationships. And I was just like curious your take, do you think, are men intimidated by a $1 billion CEO woman?
I think some men can be intimidated by a $1 billion CEO woman. And I think there are some men like Zach who absolutely just want to lift me up and do anything they can to support and love and cheer me on, and vice versa, right? We both have very big lives and creatives and so many similar things about our, he's music, I'm jewelry, but what we do is so similar. We're trying to bring joy to people through the art that we create. We're trying to make people happy. We love our kids so much, and our children are the heart of our entire universe. And so all of those things are so aligned. And when you find a partner that you have that alignment with, and there's no competition, it's just, I love you. I'm rooting for you. I see you. I want to do everything I can to lift you up and then to also be your rock. Because I haven't had that before, Cody. I had felt like the world was on my shoulders in a lot of ways. I was a single mom for much of my starting the business and getting the business going. And it was really hard. And I didn't have someone that could hold me when things were hard. And I always felt like I had to be the strong, like tough one. And I could never let the face go. And you know what I mean? And I had to just be like, okay, put the game face on. It's going to be okay. And even when I was, losing confidence in myself or whatever, I had a few good friends and people that I could talk to, but to have a partner, a real partner that I can go, God, this is tough for me, and have someone who gets it, who understands the weight of what it feels like to carry that burden, and to be able to just hold me in that space and be like, I hear you, I see you, I can't solve the problem, but I'm here to help you and be a shoulder. Whatever you need is a really amazing thing, and I'm so grateful for.
Yeah. No, I totally relate to that. I think I had a partnership before that it work for me that way. And I think competition can be tough sometimes when you're playing in this game. And for most of, human existence, we weren't really competing with each other.
Yeah.
And so I always I go back and forth between, do I ever ask the question or not? But I think there's so many women out there right now who really, we were girl bosses and we, climbed the corporate ladder or built our businesses or whatever. Yeah. And then I think there are a lot of women that I talk to, at least, it's the number one thing they want to talk about. They're like, I'm successful in my career. I'm motoring, but will it be possible for me to find love and a man that can handle it?
There are people out there, there are men out there, and then women out there too, right? It goes both ways, right? And it's you can't just be the girl boss in every situation. Yeah. There's masculine and feminine, right? Yeah. And I can be totally tough girl boss, making the decisions, doing all the things. But there's moments when I want to come in and I want to be more of the feminine side of me. And I want him to honey, you decide what we're having for dinner tonight or where we're going to go. I don't want to have to make all the decisions. And it's nice to be able to have that dynamic and be able to know that you can have that ebb and flow in a relationship and that you're in a safe place to do that. There's nothing more powerful than that. And it's important to look, I hadn't gotten it right all the time. And I look at you and, you've known your guy for a long time. And I have friends that have had relationships that, they've had since they were in high school or college. And I'm wow, that's amazing. But I also think we need to give each other grace. Not everything works out the way we always want it to. No one goes into a marriage or any type of relationship thinking it's going to end. We're all hopeful, right? That this could be what happens. And if we allow, again, like we talked about before, a failure or a divorce to stop you from ever loving again, that'd be a shame. We've got one life on this earth and I want to make it count. And yeah, some things may not have gone the way that I had thought they would go, but I still believed in love. And, meeting Zach at this stage of my life, he may not be my first, but he's my last.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, he seems really cute on Instagram.
He's
which
the
is
sweetest,
he's got all
human.
The tats, so you wouldn't think.
Oh, he's a teddy bear.
Is he?
Yes.
I won't tell anybody.
Now the world knows. He, as a dad too, he's got 4 daughters and a son. He is the most incredible girl dad you've ever seen. Just so protective and loving, and it's amazing thing.
Yeah,
you can tell I'm pretty
tough guys.
smitten.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like we want to keep up. We want to keep him permanent.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, I think sometimes the tough guys also are the ones that are the kindest. Chris, Former Navy SEAL, everybody always thinks he's the mean guy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm kind of the mean guy. And then he is actually the kind one.
Yeah.
But that's really nice of you to share. Because again, I think it's hard out there. All the statistics say we're getting married less. We're in relationships less. We're kind of a little bit lonelier. And so
but having a partner is so amazing. Having a real partner in life and having it where you've got each other.
Yeah.
That that the other person 1000% has your back, loves you, is rooting for you, is cheering you on, is your biggest supporter. If you can find that and then give and have that the same for your, that's how I am with Zach. I'm his biggest fan, in all things that he does in his life. And I just want to be additive. And I wake up and I go, what can I do today to make him happy, to, to be there for our family in a meaningful way, to make sure he knows how much he's loved. And he does the same for me. And when you have that reciprocation in a relationship, it's really magical.
That's a really good note, actually. That idea of doing one nice thing a day for your partner. How do you go above and beyond for them?
Every single day, no matter where we are, we start our morning with "Good morning, I love you so much." Whether it's a text if we're in a different city or whether we're laying next to each other in bed. We do not get the first words out of our mouth is "I love you." And the last words out of our mouth before we go to bed are "I love you." And, even with my kids, I don't ever get off the phone with my kids without telling them I love them. They hear it all the time from me, but I'm like, I'm going to tell you. I know, but I'm going to tell you all the time because I never want you to ever worry about that.
I love that.
You're so loved.
My mom was here today. She's been at our event. We had an event all weekend. She's been hanging out. It's the most incredible thing to be able to bring your family along with you,
Yes. I love that you do that because I say all the time, people, we get the work-life balance question as women a lot, right? But men don't get that as often. We get it all the time. But I built a business where family could be part of my business. And bringing my kids along with me and getting them see what I do and what my work looks like and understanding that gave them such a unique perspective in life. And thinking about now I've grown men who are my sons and them starting their own businesses and having that almost by osmosis experience, from the pack and play in my office to where we are today, watching it all along the way. It's really part of their like genetic makeup now, because it's like they've been in it, every single day of their life.
They're like listing off SKUs to fall asleep every night. I like that. So did you actually, I've always wondered that. I haven't been blessed with kids yet. Hopefully that happens one day for us. But did you bring your kids to work?
All the time.
You just strap them in?
I still do. I mean, in the early days before they were in preschool, I had a pack and play and I had a bouncy chair. And there was like 6 of us in the office. And I mean, I'd be on the phone with a buyer like Nordstrom and I'd be like passing Beck, my baby, and I'd be like, take him. Cause if he'd be like cooing or, he was a really good baby, thank God. But, one of the other girls in my office would be like holding him like in the bathroom while I'm on the phone with Nordstrom, But then when they'd go to school, I remember like preschool, they started at 3 and I would drop them off and it was like, okay, I have until 1:45 to just do as much as I possibly can and do all the calls and all those. And then I would bring them back to my design studio with me until we finished up that night. I traveled with Cade, my oldest, when I would do New York, all the shows. I had friends that lived in New York and LA. They'd baby. I thank God for friends. It takes a village. It really does. But I would be selling during the day and they'd be babysitting for me and watching him. He had like 70,000 frequent flyer miles at the age of 3 because he went everywhere with me. I mean, he was my little sidekick. And, but I loved it. And in the early stages, like I couldn't afford a nanny. I couldn't afford those things. Yeah. Like every dollar I was spending, I was having to put into trying to build the business. And I was like, I can figure this out. I mean, I look back on it now and honestly, I'm like, how did I do that exactly? Because it wasn't easy, but it's the only thing I knew.
What advice would you have for a single mom that wants to start up a business like yours?
Well, I think that's the thing, right? You create a business. The beauty about entrepreneurship is you create your own utopia. Like, what is your utopia? What does your dream life look like? All right, for me, I wanted to be in jewelry and design and I wanted to be there for my little baby boy. I wanted to be the best mom I could possibly be. I didn't want to miss any of his games. I wanted to be there for him when he was sick. And that meant I couldn't go back to working in an office. I couldn't go back to working for somebody else. So if I wanted to create that, what was I going to do? And that meant that I created a workplace that allowed not just myself, but others to be there first for their families. Because it's not just for the boss, it's got to be for everybody. And you lead by example. So I think, you build the world, right? And you kind of reverse engineer it. Once you know the destination, you can build your roadmap to get there. Sometimes we try to build the roadmap before we know the destination. And that can be very confusing. And that destination, by the way, will change every 3 years or so. You're going to see it and you're going to go, that's where I'm headed. And then about 2 years in, you're going to go, ooh, wait, now I'm headed here. And now I got to build a new roadmap. And so that's going to change a little bit. But when you really start to think about how you do it, creating an environment where family can be part of what you do. Not every single day. My kid couldn't come with me on every sales call or everything. But I tried to do as many things as I could that allowed me to be able to be there and then set boundaries. So I knew, all right, I'm going to pick my kids up from school every day. I want to be that face that picks them up. Now that meant that I had to do some other things and sacrifices. I couldn't do long lunches. I couldn't, do some other things that some of my other friends were doing. I had to make other sacrifices, but that was my priority and that was important to me. And so really understanding your priorities and what's important to you really will help you kind of create that vision of how to do it.
By the way, I have a live event. I only do one a year. It's huge. How big? Really big. In Austin, Texas, just for people who want to make more money, buy businesses, build businesses. It's called Main Street Over Wall Street. So if you liked this episode, you're probably going to want to be there. There's only a couple hundred spots left. So click below. I want to shake your hand in person in Austin, Texas, or go to msows.com. MSOWS. We'll see you there. Hey, it's your friend Cody. By the way, guys, I just realized that a bunch of you are not subscribed, which is crazy because I feel like we hang out every week and we talk about how to make your life better, how to make your bank account bigger, and I want to do more of that. So one, thank you for being here. Like sometimes I'm like, pinch me moment, And also share this with a friend, subscribe. The only way we grow is when you share it. And we only show up on your feed when you subscribe. So I promise that if you do that, I will continue to make this podcast a way for you to steal all my rich and successful friends so that your life can be even better every single day. Yeah, so true. We've talked about a lot of highlights, how big the business now, some of the new launches, but I know that that is not how business always goes. So was there ever a moment where you thought this business is going under? We're not going to make it.
How much time do we have?
Like every Tuesday?
Seriously. I mean, Codie, there were so many. I look back on it. There were so many, and I think you talked about this, something about your dad. It was like head in your hands moments.
Yeah.
Is that what you say your dad talks about? And I remember hearing you talk about that because I was like, oh my God, I have so many head in my hands moments on my kitchen floor, like sobbing, crying, thinking I'm going to lose my business. One of those was during the 2008 recession. I was strictly wholesale, so just selling to other retailers. I didn't have my own retail stores. I didn't have my own e-commerce at that point because my first business, the Hat Box, failed. I wasn't going to go into retail again. I had sworn off retail. So I thought wholesale was safe until the recession hit. And I realized it was not safe, that all the power of my business laid in these other buyers, store owners, buyers for these department stores who were getting laid off, stores that were shuttering. I had no direct connection to my customer. I was letting everybody else sell my products for me. I wasn't selling them directly to her and finding out what she really wanted. So that 2008 recession was the greatest gift Kendra Scott ever had because it forced me to look at my business differently. My line of credit got called because, and I had paid everything on time, but I was considered high risk because of our category. So I had to find a local bank. I had to put everything I own up for collateral. I don't know. I joke, like I told my son, Kate, I go, you might've been on that collateral list, baby. I'm so glad things worked out. I mean, it was like, what do you need? Like I was shoes off my feet. I was like, I'll put whatever I've got, just please take this loan. And fortunately, it was a female president of a local bank, Texas Capital Bank, that took my loan from a big bank. But that moment, I remember thinking, I'm going to lose this business. And I had this woman, I wasn't a loan number to her. She had worn my jewelry for years. She knew who I was. She knew my hustle. She knew my drive. And when I looked her in the eye and I said to her, I will pay this back and then some, Carrie, she knew I was going to do it. And she believed in me and she took that loan. And I mean, I say that all the time, it's relationships, right? And it's keeping your word and being consistent and do what you say you're going to do. And build that trust over time. But that was a scary time. But I opened my first retail store 2 years later in 2010 when everyone was shuttering on South Congress. I opened our first retail store, moved our offices right above that little store. So we all had to walk through the store to get to our offices. And I was like, we are going to sit in this store, all 10 of us, because there's only 10 of us at the time. And we're going to learn from our customer every day. We're going to find out what she loves, what she wants more of. This is going to be our laboratory. I still didn't know we were going to open retail stores after that. I thought we'd have this one retail store in Austin, and then we would just keep building our wholesale. And then I wanted to build e-commerce. So we built e-commerce and launched that at the same time. But that store, there'd be lines around the block to come in. And I was like, maybe there's something to this retail brick and mortar thing. And here we are going to have 170 stores at the end of this year. But it was one store at a time. When you look at the big thing, and like you said, you can't eat a cake in one bite. Each store, that success gave me the opportunity to take the money and the funds to reinvest, to look at the next opportunity. And the next opportunity, and I had to get it right. And I had to make sure the formula was right and the presentation was right and how we were selling was right and the displays were right. And you don't rush it, right? You take your time and you listen and you learn and then you act. And sometimes brands try to just act. They forget about the listen and learn part. And then they're like, well, why isn't this working? And this isn't falling apart. And this thing is not working because we haven't taken the time to really give the patience that it takes to build a really strong business. It takes a lot of patience. And we just did it thoughtfully and we did it methodically and we went where our customers were. Not that was sexy, not where the sexy addresses were. Plano, Texas does not sound sexy to a lot of brands. That store was 1,500 square feet and it was doing $7 million a year. Oh. So I called it Plano Insano. I'm like, I made t-shirts for our team. I was like, that's where I want to be. Let's wear more Planos, Yeah. And so many businesses get caught up in like what they think, oh, this brand is here and here. So I have to be here and here. You got to be where your customer is. Listen to where your customer wants you, and that's where you should go.
Such a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to fall into like what you think cool is too.
Totally.
I remember falling into that too. It was not cool to get on the internet and talk about finance and private equity. It was way cooler when I was at Goldman and I ran my own private equity firm and I was fancy and I wore all the things. But then I realized, actually, I don't really want to get rich quietly. I want to be around a bunch of other people and maybe help them do the same thing, even if it's not as cool. But that's a hard jump.
Well, it's way cooler now. Look at you.
It's cooler now. It's
way
cooler now.
cool
But when
now.
I started
Come
out, they were
on.
like, what are you doing? Are we TikTok dancing now? Have you lost all, semblance of care? But I am curious. Let's say that there's somebody listening right now.
Yeah.
And they're in the pain cave. They're struggling in their business. What would you say to them to get them out of that deep, dark hole?
So sometimes it's so hard when you're in the middle of the forest, in the weeds all around you, to get that 360 perspective, right? And to really, we get in our minds, like I look at the hat box as the greatest lesson for me. I wanted hats. Hats were the thing. Everyone was going to wear hats again like it was 1940. It had to be hats. What was working was the jewelry I was making and putting on the counter in the little case that was selling out the day. But in my brain, it was the hat idea. It was opening 100 hat box stores. I wasn't paying attention to what was working until I closed that store and customers started calling me and saying, I want a pair of earrings for the necklace I bought. And my sister loves the earrings I bought in your hat store. So I had went and got a job after I closed the hat box and I was just side hustling making jewelry. But the point of that story is that when we're in it, we can't always see it. And so to get yourself to almost have this like bird's eye view, like just lift yourself out of that moment and really think about what's working. What's not working? Write it down. What are people, where are you seeing some traction? It may not be the original idea. It may not be what you thought it was going to be, but somewhere in there, there's something that is sparkling, something that's standing out. Now focus all of your energy on that. Even though it's hard because you're thinking, oh, but I spent all this time on this other part and it was supposed to look like this and be this. It's sad, right? To put those things away and go, I might need to put that in a drawer and it's not working right now. But this little thing over here, something's happening over here. Maybe I should focus a little more time there. Maybe I should nurture that a little bit more. And I can't tell you how many business owners I have met that the little thing that they didn't think was the thing became the thing. And the thing that they thought was the thing ended up being completely the opposite. And that is exactly who I am today. It sure wasn't hats. Now I'm doing hats again with Yellow Rose, but it wasn't the hats.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Yeah. We call it kill your zombies.
Yeah.
Because just because it used to be alive doesn't mean it should always stay alive. Some things you got to die.
And it's the hardest thing when you start a business or as an entrepreneur. It's like you become so attached. And it's so hard sometimes to let go of those things and disattach yourself from it and be like, okay, that's not working. Yeah. And to have the vulnerability to say, okay, this is scary. This is new uncharted territory that I'm going into, but I've got to let that go. I've got to quit putting all this focus and attention on it because it's not productive. Nothing is working there. So what am I going to do to shift into something that can work?
What made you start Yellow Rose? It's such a cool brand.
Thank you.
And not what I expected from like the Kendra Scott I originally knew.
Well, there's two Kendra Scott. So Kendra Scott, I'm the person, and I love color. Obviously, I love beautiful color gemstones. I've been designing for 23 years, and being here in Texas is such a big part of the design aesthetic and things that inspire me. And so, vintage pieces of Kendra Scott have a lot of this Western inspiration and really cool, kind of it's my love letter to Texas, so to speak. So I started bringing some of those vintage pieces back. And I was seeing such a resurgence with Western wear. And obviously all of us watched, all the shows, Yellowstone all the things. And everybody was going Western. I mean, you even saw Louis Vuitton was going Western. I was like, what's happening? They're French. I'm Texas. I know Western. And part of my life is ranch life. I have a ranch in Wimberley, Texas. It's my happy place. When I'm not, in the boardroom, I'm in my boots in the barn. And I love this lifestyle. And I love vintage Western. So I would go and shop vintage all the time, and the cuts of the bell bottoms and high-waisted jeans and the really beautiful Western cut shirts that were fit just right and the pearl snaps and all the details. I could wear that look and still be very sophisticated. I could wear a Western cut shirt and a gorgeous pair of trousers to a meeting in New York City and people would go nuts. And so I knew there was a way to bring this style, this aesthetic into the modern world and make it to where it's not just rodeo wear. This is wear that you could wear anywhere you go and look absolutely amazing. And I wanted a brand that put the woman, the cowgirl, front and center. Every other Western brand was cowboy first. And then the afterthought was like, women. And a lot of the cuts were like taking a men's Western shirt and just making an extra small version of it. Well, a man's body and a woman's body are very different. We want better darts. We want it to fit different. And so for me, it was really about let's figure out a way to do something that's so unique, but doing it in a modern way, how I dress and how I, express myself with this Texas style. And so that's how Yellow Rose came to life. And just like I talked about, we tested and we learned. We put it in the back of Kendra Scott flagship in little back room, and we tested product, and we brought in collabs, and we brought in boots, and we did a collab with Wrangler to see, what she liked in, different denim. And we just learned for 2 years. We had a tiny house, and we took it to every rodeo and music festivals. And it was just all about creating experience for our customer and bringing this vision of this brand and just learning and saying, is there something here? Before we're going to just open stores and we're going to put all this investment into it, is there an appetite? And there was a huge appetite. People were going crazy and still are going crazy for the product. And it's just really fun that this is a big part of who I am. So it's very authentic. It's part of my life. Yellow Rose Ranch is my other home. And to be able to bring people into the place that I love, my happy place, is really fun to be able to build a new brand at this stage.
Yeah, it was cool. I remember when you guys launched it, and they're like, I believe a couple really cute girls carrying a bunch of yellow roses, handing them out all over South Congress, accompanied by large horses and
for
cowboys,
sure.
I think.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on South Congress? And it was you.
Well, I even in New York City, when we went, this is before we had Yellow Rose, and the Yellow Rose is the Yellow Rose of Texas. And when I moved to Texas, my stepfather met me at the gate. I was 16 years old with my mom, and he handed me a dozen yellow roses. And he said, this is the Yellow Rose of Texas, sweetheart, welcome home. And every birthday I got yellow roses, and it just was very sentimental and meaningful to me. But yellow is our brand. Yellow is the color of happy. It's the color of joy. So when we opened our Kendra Scott store in New York City, we brought yellow roses to the subway, hanging yellow roses in the subway, passing yellow roses out to people. This is even before Yellow Rose was a brand, but it was like our way of saying the Yellow Rose of Texas, we're in New York. Texas is here,
It's just so smart. I mean, listening to this, I'm just like, God, if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm like writing down ideas. Like, how do we just take little things that are real stories in our life and integrate them? Because nothing sells like a story. I mean, I love Elon's line that salesmanship is showmanship.
Yeah.
And it's so true. If you want to sell, you got to show.
And you got to be authentic. And like you said, we all have our own unique story. There's only one of us, okay? Right. And sometimes we want to be like, oh, I don't want people to know that about me, or this hard thing that I went through. I got to polish up my persona. No, we want all that because your unique story, all the struggles, the triumphs, all of the things have led you to where you are in your life. Talk about those things. Build a business around those things. Build a life around who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. Embrace who you are. And when you do, people will absolutely be attracted to that because they're going to see authenticity. They're going to see that it's real. And I said this earlier, people smell a fake.
Yeah.
Be your real authentic self. And it's so amazing what can happen.
What was it like to work with Dolly Parton?
Oh
I
my
gotta
God,
ask.
Cody.
I mean, I saw the partnership and was just like, that's the peak. It's the pinnacle.
My dream. So I basically was like, before I die, I got to meet Dolly. I watched the movie 9 to 5 on my VHS tape till I wore it out. Okay. I had to get a new one. I'm not joking. You can wear a VHS out, and I wore out 9 to 5. I love that movie. I watched that movie so many times and I loved it. And what's so funny is when I built Kendra Scott HQ, it's got a kids room with, all sorts of kids activities. It's got mothers nursing rooms. We've got a gym. It's a whole utopia for working women. And I realized when I started walking through, I built 9 to 5. I built the modern day 9 to 5, what Dolly and friends were trying to create in 1980. I built that. And she's always been this inspiration. She's unapologetically her. She's like, this is who I am. This is what I am. And she's brilliant, right? But she doesn't care. She doesn't let anybody this is who I am. And I just remember looking at her and being like, I want that confidence and that kindness and the warmth and all the things she represented. But she is such a badass businesswoman. Let's not be mistaken here. She is an incredibly smart businesswoman. And I just thought, I just want to meet her. And so a friend of mine arranged for me to meet her. She was performing in Austin, and I got to go and meet her. And I thought that was going to be the end of story. And I met her and I said, hey, I wrote a chapter, I'm writing a book, and I wrote a chapter in my book, 9 to 5, about how much the movie and you have influenced me. And she's like, well, I'd love to read it, darling. Will you send it to me? And I said, oh, sure, and I was still in the writing process. Well, she loved it so much. She said, well, she offered to write the foreword of my book. So now I've got Dolly and I'm like, I don't even know how to describe that. And as we started to continue to talk, I can't explain it to you, Cody, but I just love her. I love her as a person. And she's like, well, we should work together. And I was like, we should work together. And so we decided to do a collab in jewelry. And I was like, let's design every collection after a song. Ooh. And so take the song and we would play with what the collection is. So not just getting to meet her, getting to know her, getting to work with her, and now getting to call her a friend is, when I say you can't dream big enough, that was the biggest dream of all the dreams of my life. And it's so beyond what I could have ever dreamt.
So cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the woman is just incredible. I saw she had an announcement that she's had to delay some shows, which is, never a fun thing to announce. But then she writes a line in the delay announcement that's so good. She's like, I got to go to my doctors. They want me to do some surgeries. And this time, it ain't plastic surgeries.
She's like, I'm going in for my 100,000-mile checkup. I mean, she's
How good was that?
Because she's authentic. It's like she knows people give her a hard time for it. She's just going to call the elephant in the room. And I love that. And that taught me so much too. It's like, own who you are. Yeah. Don't try to be someone different. I would walk into boardrooms when I was trying to get funding and I was like, be girly and feminine and all these things. And I thought, well, maybe that's why they're not investing in me. So I thought, I better dress like a man. So I wore a gray pantsuit and, tried to be more businessy or whatever. Yeah. Well, that didn't work either. And I was like, and I remember one night and I rewatched 9 to 5 for the 500th time. And I was like, I'm going to be who I am. I'm color, I'm a girl, I'm feminine, I'm all those things. I'm going to own who I am. And if people want to invest in me, they're going to invest in me. If they don't, well, good riddance, But that all came from trailblazers like her who really forged a path for women like you and I to be authentically ourselves and to not apologize for who we are.
No, and I'm still not at her level. I mean, my mom thinks I'm pretty authentically myself. I'm like, no, I still get scared all the time, you know, and I'll put something out there and then I'll question it.
Yeah.
It seems a constant struggle, but
you
maybe
have
that's the
to go
game.
see her musical. Because it is her story that she wrote, and it's so many things in it that you would be surprised that you don't know about Dolly, and how hard media was on her, and how many people. I mean, right now you think about it, no one would say anything bad about Dolly. She's the living legend. But in the 70s, 80s, I mean, people were brutal, and she was coming up in a man's world, and the things that she was up against. It really was so powerful to watch it and see it in her words, how she put together that musical.
Well, I'm glad you're getting on social more, because I know that really, obviously all your brands were on social for a long time. And, now you have the book and you've been on Shark Tank and you're out there more. But, there really just aren't that many examples of women who have built billion-dollar companies and especially done it with a feminine flair, dare I say, and especially done it without third-party funding, and especially done it not coming from money. I mean, there's a lot of and. And so it's really cool. And I'm excited for you to keep sharing, especially because you're kind of busy. I don't know if anybody's told you, but
it is a hard thing for me, to be really honest. It's hard to kind of put yourself out there sometimes, and I think as I look at, my life and what I'm doing, it is what you just talked about. It's like, if I can inspire one girl to look at me and go, okay, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how many times people tell you can't do something. It doesn't matter if you don't have a college degree. All these things, if I can give one little girl hope that she can be anything she wants to be, that she can do anything she sets her mind to, then it's worth doing it.
Yeah. And, the other cool thing is you have a talisman too for them, because you have the jewelry. So it's if they get to really connect with Kendra the human and then get to wear your physical representation, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Not that many people get it.
It still blows my mind when I walk around places or go through an airport and I see just multi-generations, moms, daughters, all ages wearing my jewelry. And I literally go up to people and I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Or you look beautiful in your jewelry. And sometimes I don't know, who's this crazy woman coming up to me, complimenting me. It's still wow to me. It never gets old. And I think, for those founders out there that are in that place where they're in their extra bedroom or they're shipping off their dining room table like I did, you're always grateful. Like those moments will never leave you, but they're such great gifts that you're going through these moments. One of my friends came by, and I remember when we had that store and we had the offices above, and we had like a little room where we were doing our shipping and receiving, and I had like pegboards of like all the jewelry. And he came in and he goes, wow, he's like, this is the night before. He goes, you need to take pictures, Kendra. And I'm in the middle of it, just like, what are you talking about? And it's my friend Cameron Harold. And he's like, this is the night before. You're going to want to remember this because your business is about to blow up and you're going to want to remember what this was like. And I was like, he saw it, but I was so in it that I couldn't see it. And I love that analogy, the night before, because so many times we're so in it. We're just surviving. Like, I got to get this order out. I got to get this thing out, that we forget to think about where we're going and take that moment to just step back and be like, hey, this could be the night before something really amazing.
Got the chills. That was so good. I read this line the other day that was like, the real flex in entrepreneurship isn't the Rolex or the car. It's the 100 families that it was that when you walk in the office, the 100 people in there represent 100 families that get fed because of the work that you do.
Isn't that amazing? And it's a huge, and it is like, I mean, I've got, 3,000 plus employees. That's 3,000 plus families. Also, all the nonprofits that we work with. I mean, Kendra Scott Foundation is such a huge part of what we do. And we work with so many local nonprofits. There's so much that we're doing. And it's such a huge responsibility, but it is. It's like, okay, everything you do every day, every decision you make infects all of those people. And you've got to be so thoughtful about what that is and how you go about how you walk in the world.
I heard that your favorite vehicle is actually a John Deere tractor. Is that true?
Yes.
I told you I knew some things.
How do you know that?
Can't give away my secrets.
Well, I have posted me driving my tractor. I love that thing, man. I'll tell you what. I mean, it's the farmer in me. My mom's side of the family were farmers and coal miners. And I used to go to the farm in Southern Illinois in the summers, and I'd ride on the combines with my uncles. And I just love getting my hands dirty. I love being at the ranch. I love mowing. Mowing is my favorite pastime. Like, people wouldn't know.
The look in your eyes when
I
you
get
just
excited.
said I love mowing. Maybe the most excited to date.
I love mowing. I put on my cowboy boots. I put on my overalls. I get my trucker hat on, and I will mow for hours, Cody. I will mow for hours and hours, and it's quiet. It's peaceful. I think about things. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't listen to music. I'm in my own head, just kind of thinking about things I'm working on, whatever, making really nice straight lines with my mower. I love that thing. I have 2 John Deere tractors now. Okay.
That's amazing.
Little Johnny and Big Johnny.
Dude, we need to get a collab.
Yeah.
Kendra Scott, John Deere.
Don't worry. I'm talking to them.
It's Dolly and Deere. Honestly, this stuff writes itself. Like,
I mean, it's also one of their colors is yellow. So it's kind of yellow and green. I'm saying, if they're listening, let's just keep talking. Okay. Exactly. There's something there. There's something here.
Yeah. Well, that actually makes a ton of sense that you're super into the tractors.
Yes.
Because I actually hear you got a thing for boots, and there's a little sneaky thing. I don't know. Are we allowed to talk about it?
I think we can just talk about it. Just happened. It's happening. We are launching our own boot line. I've been working on it for over 2 years to make the perfect pair of boots. I have so many cowboy boots. When I am not in Manolos, I am in cowboy boots. I kick off my heels and I literally throw my boots on and I head to the ranch. So making the perfect cowboy boot was really important for me. Doing beautiful leathers, the craftsmanship, the quality, all the things. They are stunning. They are gorgeous. We even have a men's boot. So we didn't forget about the boys.
Out the dudes.
We didn't leave out
that.
the boys, but they're gorgeous. And they'll be available at Yellow Rose stores and Yellow Rose by Kendra Scott on the web.
How fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I only wear boots. So I am going to be buying some. Yeah, I really have a lot of respect for you. Those things are death traps. Like, stilettos are just, you look hot, but
Thank you. I have just worn them for so long.
That you're okay, actually?
I was until COVID, okay? And then we didn't wear,
true.
And my feet got only used to slippers. Like, even forget that, And so when we came out of COVID and they're like, Kendra, you got to go speak. I remember I had to go to Vegas for like some speaking thing and I had to put high heels on. And I'm like, what are these awful things that we put our feet in? And I had to retrain them. But, they're pretty. But yeah.
How many hours? What's the max you can stay in a heel?
I mean, I'm on set at Shark Tank for 14 hours and I'm in heels all day.
Oh my, come on. You wear slippers in between sessions.
No, Lori does. She's really smart. I don't, but I think it's not a bad idea. I just feel like if I took them off
you don't
and my
wanna put 'em back
feet
on.
realized that there could be a rest, they wouldn't want to get back in. So it's like I can't even tease them. It's like I can't give my feet the tease. Don't tease them.
Oh, good for you. Okay, well, I'm more excited you're doing boots. Then at least you have an excuse to never wear those things again.
I know. Do you want to talk about Shark Tank really quick?
Yeah, I would love to.
I am having the time of my life on this season. Best season I've ever been on.
Why?
The entrepreneurs are unbelievable. I mean, I invested in a lot of deals this season because I was getting blown away one after another, just passionate founders, family businesses. I love family businesses.
Yeah, me too.
It's just an incredible, incredible season.
Can you say which one's your favorite? Give
No.
us a hint. No. She goes, no.
Well, I mean, one that just aired was Double Soul. And it was, Pete Davidson is an investor. It was a couple, Ben and Allison. I like him. But they sent him socks. So they did what I did, like let people taste